Welcome into another edition of the Big Ten Hockey Report alongside former Ohio State standout Paul Caponigri. I'm Rick Pizzo. Cappy, we have had this weekend and specifically one series circled on the Big Ten hockey calendar for quite some time.
Yeah, it's been fun and it's been leading up. And it's going to be interesting because they both had the weekend off. Michigan had one game, but a lot of time to prepare for this game heading into a huge weekend.
And Minnesota, of course, had last weekend off. Right. So many storylines surrounding the Gophers and Wolverines. You look back to the first time these teams played earlier this season. Michigan with the offensive explosion in Game 1, but the Gophers came back. A huge bounce-back victory for Minnesota in the second game to even up the head-to-head. When you look down at the remaining schedule, there is no question that Michigan has the harder road over the final 3 weeks, included a home-and-home against Ohio State and a home series against Penn State. The double-edged sword there for Minnesota. While the schedule is a bit easier for the Gophers, this could be their last true chance to pick up a couple of signature wins and help themselves in the pairwise rankings. As we look now at the updated pairwise rankings, Michigan very comfortable at number 6. Wolverines could even afford a bit of a fade down the stretch. They're going to be an at-large team, even if they don't get the auto bid with the Big Ten Conference Tournament title. Penn State and Minnesota in very different situations. Right now, on the bubble, yes, we list 16, but truth of the matter is, 2 conferences will send automatic qualifiers that would not otherwise get in. So this year, and historically, 14 has typically been the cutoff line. Obviously, the Gophers can give themselves a huge boost with a sweep this week over the number 6 team in the country. To do that, Paul, Minnesota will have to slow down Michigan's top line of Comfer, Connor, and Mott, and slow down the power play, which right now is one of the best in the country.
It is, and it's a lot to do with that line. They all are on it together. You had Zach Werenski on the back end to that first power play unit. It is really good. I saw it live a couple times. They spread you out. They move the puck around really well. But when you look at Minnesota, it's kind of been a seesaw year with their penalty kill. But in conference play, they're the number 1 team in the conference, and they also have 6 shorthanded goals, which means they're getting it done at both ends, only giving up 6 power play goals in conference, and they've scored 6 goals, which is remarkable. So they're kind of playing at even pace when they're shorthanded, which is a credible stat. So it's something they're going to have to, I think they're going to have to use to get, 2 wins. They're not thinking 1 win this weekend. Obviously, their coaches will say, get that first one, but they're looking at the big picture. You need a sweep here if you're Minnesota, if you want to go to where you want to be.
No question about it, and that will be the key for the Gophers defensively. Offensively, though, Michigan gets so much credit. They lead the nation in scoring. Kyle Connor leads the nation in points. Minnesota, though, very quietly has put together a nice offensive run as of late. You now have 3 guys in Bristed, Klus, and Fasching, all with 30 points. And, Paul, there's a lot of balance since Don Lucia shifted the lines up a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and you got to give him a lot of credit. Moving Bristet down to that 3rd line, moving Camerata up, a guy that they needed to get going. He's been pretty good the last couple weeks. But you look at Fasching on one line, Klus and Bristet, you spread it out, and those guys have led the way. You get right below those top 3 Michigan guys in scoring, and the next 4 are Minnesota guys. So they're doing it in a different way. They got a little more balance. Michigan does have some balance, but Minnesota found, I think, that you make that one little tweak in your lineup sometimes, and it really can change things. I think it's given Camerata a little more confidence, moving him up. He played with Klus a lot in junior hockey. And I think it's made, and Bristet doesn't seem to mind. I'm on the 3rd line. Well, you know what? He's making the 3rd line a lot better with Lettieri. And it's like, who do you match up with them now? And I think well, it'll be interesting to see what happens this weekend because Michigan's got good defense and more depth there. But it'll be interesting to see if they can keep that rolling because they've not done very well against high-ranked teams.
Goaltending-wise, interesting as well because Steve Racine has been better. But Eric Shearhorn has some of the best numbers in the Big Ten. He's a very quiet goaltender in between the pipes. He is quiet off the ice as well, so we haven't heard that much about him. He's been very solid this year in his first year in Minneapolis.
I mean, you really don't know what to expect, and he's taken the horns and carried them. I mean, he's leading in minutes. He's played every game. It's been really remarkable.
And taking over for Adam Wilcox, a guy who was not just Big Ten Goalie of the Year, but Big Ten Player of the Year and one of the best backstops in the nation during his time. And don't forget, both games of this series can be seen here on BTN. Remember, it is a Thursday-Friday series at Mariucci. Thursday game, Puck drops at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 local time. On Friday, they go a bit later, 9 Eastern, 8 o'clock local. Friday night, leading up to the Michigan-Minnesota game, you can see Wisconsin and Ohio State here on BTN. Second game of that series, 7 o'clock Eastern on BTN+. For Paul Caponigri, I'm Rick Pizzo as we wrap up another edition of the Big Ten Hockey Report.